Copy. Copy.
25. Copy. Well, both me and 5 are here on the southeast end, doing very stark pattern.
Copy. Copy, copy. So that is Emerald Bay. Okay, so that straight street that's right out our window, right there, I believe is actually Emerald Bay. So that's the area where actually first reported. Look at that. Jesus. Look at that. Oh my gosh. $1,400 block of Emerald Bay. Well, we're just watching as these firefighters are really up against a lot down there. That shot that we're showing you, we don't have that technology in the helicopter, but we do have maps. And take a look right there, even before we run into that. Look at those embers just moving around down there so quickly. And we're hearing these wind reports, and we can just take a look, and you can see that that's got to be at least 35 miles an hour worth of wind just ripping down that hillside into that neighborhood. That road that we're seeing right there, we believe to be the 1400 block of Emerald Bay in the Emerald Bay area. And that's one of the original calls when this fire started. So we're not sure if the fire started behind these homes and then kind of tried to make its way up that hillside with these high winds pushing it to the south. But that is the original area where the first calls came from, where they said they had a brush fire this morning. You can see a number of firefighters out there because there are a number of homes in that area. That's the one aircraft right there that Justin just kind of pushed into. One aircraft this morning dropping water, and you see this large area of fire. Now, of course, these flames are on the top of a hillside out here. It's a little difficult to see. If you're not familiar with this area, we're very close to the coast, and the shot that you see right now would be the top of a hill to the right side of the screen. The left side of the screen are all going to be homes that are basically on the downside towards the water. Right now, though, these flames really continue to burn up here. Light fuels, this is a flash fuel type of fire that, is creating all those embers, and those winds are really pushing it down into that neighborhood. Now, the fire department, we heard when we were arriving, 8 strike teams. That is a large number of firefighters, and as we were making our way here, we continued to see fire trucks rolling into the area. They have really thrown a lot of resources out here because there are a lot of homes and the direction of the wind. Beautiful shot right there, shows you some night drops, and that is a great effort from the Orange County Fire Authority. But take a look, though. That helicopter, as big as it is, the amount of water it dropped, take a look at the fire that it's dealing with. That is really a drop in the bucket. This is going to be fought mostly on the ground until the daylight hours. Hopefully they'll be able to get some fixed wings out here to do some FOS check drops. But right now, these firefighters, they're the only line of defense for many of these expensive homes out here in the Laguna Beach area and Emerald Bay. Right now, also, there are several road closures. If you're planning on driving through this area, or you plan to drive through this area for work, you should really look and check, because Pacific Coast Highway definitely going to be closed out here for all those fire trucks staging. And of course, this firefight, hopefully those homes will be safe with the number of firefighters they have out here, but you can really feel the tension and see the winds just blowing these flames and embers into that neighborhood. Very scary stuff indeed. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, again, the same thing. We're working the best we can to get information up here in Skyfox and kind of keep track of what's going on down there on the ground. We have not heard an official, like you said, an official evacuation. Of course, a lot of these folks that live in these neighborhoods, they seem to be used to or understand the dangers. But you also know that if they are smart and they plan ahead, which a lot of folks do, they will be ready to make that move if these flames or this situation happens. So many people might have already got their belongings and their loved ones and kind of moved out of the area knowing the threat that is going on. That shot that we keep showing right there, I really believe that's going to be the 1400 block of Emerald Bay Drive out here. And that area, you can really see those firefighters hustling down there in those intense situations with those high winds, embers moving around, and basically just doing structure protection. They're keeping an eye out to make sure if they see any kind of flame or anything threatening a structure, they're going to get that water out there as quickly as possible. And it's not just property. It's that domino effect that you got to think about. These firefighters are down there, they're protecting lives, and some people might be cynical and say, oh, you're just protecting expensive homes. It is the domino effect. If one of those homes goes, then you have a bulk of fire and more to deal with as that will continue to make its way down the hill. They don't want that to start. Justin just got a little bit of a wide shot right there. That flank is actually moving out towards the west. I know it's kind of complicated, but you can see like a bulk of fire now moving out towards the west. This is a new crop up. And again, it's the same scenario. You have a lot of fuel up here, top of the hills, high winds just pushing these flames. The fire department right now, not handicapped by any means, but they only have one aircraft to do these water drops right now, and that's what they really need, is some aerial support to get the bulk of that fire kind of under control. What they're hoping for is that, like we've been talking about, it's flash fuel, it'll burn quickly, and then that bulk of fire will slow down so the firefighters can really entrench themselves and basically put down that line and keep it from moving into that neighborhood. Right now, though, it is just an insane firefight. You really respect all the work those firefighters on those front lines on the grounds are doing right now. It does, and this is like we've been talking about. It will move very quickly, and the original number when we arrived is probably from the initial call. They said 7 acres. When Skyfox arrived out here, it was well over 7 acres, but the potential of 100 plus is really what's concerning, because this area away from the homes is just wide open area with a lot of fuel, a lot of growth out here. As long as the winds are pushing it towards the south, that's a huge plus in the aspect of acreage. But as far as where the homes are, the winds really are pushing it down that hillside into that neighborhood, that Emerald Bay neighborhood. That's what the firefighters are dealing with right now. And we can see it seems like almost 2 flanks here, an eastern flank and a western flank, both moving towards the south, towards those neighborhoods. Those firefighters, they know this, they're moving their assets around, and they're predicting where it might go and trying to get guys in position, guys and gals, in position to stop those flames. Definitely makes sense, Tony, and thank you for getting us that information.
Hello.
We are a little handicapped up here in Skyfox this morning with gathering our own information, so I appreciate that for sure. But you can see Justin kind of showing that that's going to be the northern flank. I'm sorry, the western flank right there. That's going to be, and it is. It's kind of moving around that Emerald Bay neighborhood. You've got that one off to the west, and you've got that other one off to the east. The western one right now much more active. You can see those winds pushing it, and as Justin pushes in, you can kind of see what we're talking about with flash fuels. This is a type of chaparral that is out here that basically covers so much of the Southern California hillsides, but you know, it is tinder dry. Look at that. Look, this is what the firefighters are going to deal with in that neighborhood as these winds are blowing these embers just down that hillside at probably 35, maybe 40 miles an hour. And you know, if Justin just follows that shot, thank goodness that this area right here is not populated as much as Emerald Bay Drive is, which is a little bit closer to us, which would be to the east. But it just shows you that there is brush, there is fuel there that is going to surround that neighborhood. These firefighters in that Emerald Bay neighborhood are going to have to work very hard to keep those homes safe. And now when you're talking about evacuations, mandatory evacuations, you've got equipment making their way up the hillside, and you're going to have residents trying to evacuate. It's going to be very busy on those very tight roads. We're going to keep an eye on that as well. But you know what? With all these firefighters and their training, and you know, we have some of the best out here in Southern California, I'm going to stay hopeful. But this morning kind of really shows you that, you know, brush fire season, they always say it, is always happening out here in Los Angeles, and how quickly it can consume a neighborhood. Copy. Justin, just look out the window. Emerald Drive or Emerald Bay stops right there, but those flames are getting really close. So where you're looking on the turn, just kind of, yeah, go towards the top. Those flames are kind of coming up to the road. Yeah. Yes. And there are homes right there. Yeah, and it shows you how futile it is. Yeah, we can. Well, yeah, I say keep moving. Just keep moving. Yeah. Yes. I'm gonna let Fulvio answer that. How long can we stay before we have to go for fuel? $45 on station, 45 here, but then we have to leave. 45 minutes here, but then we have to leave. It can't be oh, just one more. That's it. Okay, cool. Here.
Clement's gonna pick up the left-hand orbit as well.
Okay, well, we're coming around. We couldn't go across. We have to come around. But I wonder what. What's wrong? Okay. Oh, they probably had a camera reporter in here yesterday. Yep. Well, you did? There you go. You're off. If it was Justin, if it, I love Justin. Well, not that way. Not that that would be a problem. Not right. You know, not that it's a problem. You know. Yeah, you know what? It's not as dramatic because of the smoke, but it also shows you if you follow, get into the darkness, you can see the homes. Keep going into the darkness. You'll see the fire trucks. You can see that that area is going to bring you to there. You see what I'm saying? It's not as dramatic. We'll do one or two here, but let's go back the other side. It's just more to see. You know what? As far as how this fire started, I couldn't even begin to guess or anything like that. Right now, firefighters are really, really concerned about where it's going and those high winds. Justin got a great shot right now. Skyfox moving back around actually to the other side. But this is that bulk of fire we were talking about on the west side of this Emerald Bay fire. And if Justin makes a quick move, because we're actually moving back the other direction in Skyfox, you can see just the path. Now, those winds are basically blowing it directly to the south. That's going to bring you to that area where you see a number of firefighters at that cul-de-sac. We don't have our technology this morning to actually get those names, but I believe that is actually the end of Emerald Bay Drive, so basically the 1400 block, and this is what those firefighters are dealing with. Now that space right there is actually quite large. Hopefully they'll be able to get get more equipment in there, but the winds are really what these firefighters are at the mercy of. When those winds really start kicking up, we've seen those shots, those very dramatic shots Justin's been giving us from Skyfox of those embers just ripping across the hillside out there. That's going to ignite the brush in its path as well as anything else, i.e., or an example is going to be some of those homes. So the firefighters, they're already setting up. They can see where this is going. As far as the firefight in the air, this is what they really are going to need. They're going to have to wait for the sun to come up. You did say they were asking for mutual aid. I would guess that some of the fixed wings with that drop FOS check, they'll be out here as soon as there is daylight, and that is really going to help the firefighters contain this part of the fire. So what's basically going on is the brush is burning at the top of this hillside. The winds, these high winds this morning, they're blowing those embers into that neighborhood. That's what the big concern is right now for those firefighters, because there isn't really very much they can do to contain the bulk of the fire right now. So they're doing structure protection, they're setting up lines, they're getting ready for the worst case scenarios. Hopefully they won't have to deal with that. And of course, we've been talking about these evacuations. You're going to have folks down there right now, probably pretty a little, you know, adrenaline's going to be flowing. People are going to be trying to get out of there. They're going to be getting their loved ones. They're going to be getting their belongings. These are tight roads, even though they're modern. And, you know, so we have firefighters making their way up the hill. You've got residents making their way down the hill. It could get a little hectic. Hopefully everything will work out well. Haley was watching our shot earlier on. If you folks don't know Haley, she's one of our producers. And she pointed out that there is actually a power station up here as well. Right now, the power has been staying on, but there are high voltage lines in this area, and there is actually what looks like a substation at the top of that hillside. So that's something else to consider. They might have power outages later on as well. But you can just see this firefight this morning. These high winds making it very difficult for the Orange County firefighters down there to protect that Emerald Bay neighborhood. I'm Stu up in Skyfox. Yes. Well, we heard there's a Morro Bay. I was looking on our moving map up here on my iPad, and you know, I haven't really seen Morro Bay, but Emerald Drive is definitely a major thoroughway in and out of this hillside area, and that is what they've been talking about. And of course, that's going to be closed probably because of the evacuations for the folks that live out here, and for most of these firefighting activity making their way in here. Now, firefighting is not a team sport, as in we choose teams, but to hear the word LA County Fire making their way out here, especially with their aerial assets, that is going to be huge. It's going to be a huge help for Orange County. Those, you know, LA County Fire Department, they've got the Firehawks, multiple, and they are really, really trained. And, you know, brush fires are one of their specialties. So that is definitely fantastic news. The sooner they get here, then the sooner they can start dropping water and trying to contain some of that basically that chaparral that is just running free out here, that's going to be a huge asset for that neighborhood because of these embers. Something that I'm just looking out the window, Tony and Araxia, we just talked about at the beginning of this segment about that fire on that west side, how it was approaching that neighborhood. Right now, Justin showing that shot right there, that's Emerald Drive where you can see those fire trucks kind of just in. Now that fire that was not there is actually making its way south of that road. So that shows you how quickly those flames are basically moving. Thank goodness there's no homes directly right there. But if those flames keep moving down that hillside, being pushed by the winds, there are homes in that area, and I'm sure they're going to move that structure protection to get in that area as well. Again, though, devastating this morning, and it just shows you how quickly this can happen. Started out basically with 7 acres. Now I would venture to guess probably about 50, maybe more acres. And of course, these embers just blowing into this neighborhood out here at Emerald Bay. Firefighters doing what they can. So far, as far as we can see, no structures have been damaged, but there is quite a bit of structure protection down there right now. And of course, this firefight just really getting underway. Yes. Yes. Yes, and we've seen that, and even when Skyfox was arriving out here, it was interesting to see that what now is completely burned seemed to be 3 separate spots. And I'm not saying that that these were 3 separate starts, but I'm saying that the fire had basically hopscotched its way along this hillside top. It's very difficult to see just because of the darkness right now. But this area that Justin has this wide shot of is basically a hilltop out here by the shoreline. And as you move the camera southbound, which he's doing right now, that takes you into that neighborhood. Then it takes you to Pacific Coast Highway, and then of course the ocean. Right now I see the one Orange County helicopter making its way back into the fire area. He's going to be doing another drop, but we showed you earlier on, even though that is a huge amount of water being dropped, there is a huge bulk of fire out here this morning. And that little helicopter, and I say that sarcastically, that is a large helicopter. Its water drops are basically just, pebbles on the beach right now trying to put out these huge flames. Those firefighters on the ground right now, they are the first line of defense. They're doing an amazing job out there. They are not stopping the fire by any means, but they are definitely keeping those homes safe, keeping people safe down there. And right now, that is the only thing they can do, and they're doing an amazing job at doing that. He's going to do a drop. Let me see. All right. Probably. Does he sound like a deviant? Oh, you know what? Is it garbled radio shatter? Because that literally is bleed over. We're not going to be able to fix that. Just stay with the winds right now. The embers moving around. If you tilt down, just trust me here. Right in here, this area, you'll see the winds. There's the embers. Yeah. Yes. What? A helicopter. Oh, you know, it's good morning, Tony. Good morning, Roxy. Yeah, definitely. That pilot right there, this is a beautiful shot. I hope we can get a screen grab and at least send it to them. That is just amazing. But it also was showing you right there for people that might really just appreciating the beauty of that helicopter, how it was actually fighting those winds up there. It was basically dropping down, and you could see that helicopter actually making an effort to basically just stay still because of those high winds pushing down towards the south right now. Now that helicopter might do a drop right there. I would guess more that he's out there right now gathering information for the ground crews, basically where it is moving, what areas are to the most to the south, and that reason why, there goes that drop, the reason why they are so concerned. And you know what, I'm sorry, it just shows you those high winds. It shows you right there when he did that drop, that was probably a couple thousand gallons weighing probably a couple of tons, just basically evaporating in that wind. And that's what these firefighters are dealing with out here this morning, is those high winds, those embers just ripping down that hillside. And it really was a shot that kind of gave an idea what these guys on the ground are dealing with that helicopter trying to do that water drop. Usually we would see that just drop straight down onto a hot spot. In this case, that helicopter the water was basically dissipating, and he was not up high, he was down low. Emerald Bay, that's the road that we're seeing right there. Firefighters from the Orange County Fire Authority and of course other agencies nearby. Laguna Beach Fire, those were the first guys on scene. They were probably up here basically putting down that line, getting that structure protection in place, and helping getting some of those residents out of here safely. We haven't heard of any structures. That is huge. Meaning structures being damaged. A lot of protection going on down there, of course. The firefighters basically filling this neighborhood, keeping an eye on where these flames are going. Now, living in Southern California, we all have some sort of brush fire knowledge, basically just from living out here through osmosis, and we know that fire will run up a hillside. We've heard that term, run up a hillside. Right now, we're up on the top of the hill, and winds are pushing it down the hillside. Good and bad. It's going to keep those flames from moving very, very quickly, but those embers are actually going into a neighborhood out here. That's what these firefighters are dealing with. It's amazing that there are no structures damaged or lost at this point. The fire department doing an amazing job. As far as the bulk of the fire, there is still plenty to burn out here. There's a lot of hot spots, but the neighborhood itself, I'm still very hopeful that they're going to be able to say no structures lost when this is done, which probably is going to be tomorrow, if not even later. But right now, these flames really on the west side, that's that shot that's on the top of the screen, are really starting to make their way down that hillside still. Not that huge bulk of fire that we saw earlier on, but definitely too much fire to be contained quickly. And you can see it just kind of making its way slowly directly in its path. We don't see any homes. There are homes as it makes its way closer to Pacific Coast Highway, but just in the time we've been talking, we've seen how quickly that line of fire has moved. It is continuing to move that way. The winds, like we've been saying, 35 miles an hour, maybe even higher down there. And those embers, Tony, you talked about it earlier, can be carried for miles. Miles would put you in the ocean. So right now, these flames, these embers are just running down this hillside, igniting brush, and hopefully not any homes. What? I understand the answer is yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're taking a look right there, Justin, showing some of those the apparatus, the equipment making their way up these communities, these small hillside communities. You know, and this is what we were talking about earlier on. These, you know, this is a modern community out here. These roads are a little bit larger, but it is still a hillside community. They're going to be tight, so you're going to have people evacuating, making their way down that hillside, while firefighters are making their way up that hillside to get those apparatus in place for structure protection. That first line of defense, that one road that we believe is in that shot right there, is going to be the 1400 block of Emerald Bay. Now, that was the actual call this morning around 4:20 that they were talking about, I'm sorry, around 4 o'clock this morning, where they were reporting a fire, a brush fire in the area. And that's where Laguna Beach Fire made their original call or original stand. But the area that was burning, well, that was uphill here, and this is an area that is very rich with chaparral and light flash fuels. And then now adding with the winds, we saw what happened. There was just huge flames just ripping through this hillside, this actually the top of the hillside this morning. Now, the terrain was making that, driving the fire up the hill while the winds were pushing it back down into that Laguna Emerald Bay neighborhood. Right now, though, we're still hearing no structures been damaged. That is an amazing and fantastic news. And again, this is something that the firefighters are very concerned about. Of course, property values are what firefighters are protecting, but they also don't want to have one start and then have to deal with that the potential of a domino effect after that. So that first fire, you know, they've got to keep that first one from starting, and they've been doing an amazing job. This little community right here in the Emerald Bay area is basically flanked on both sides by flames. Now, the side that we're looking at right here, this is going to be the eastern side. It seems like these fire in this area moving much slower, maybe because of the winds are a little less in this area, but whatever it is, you can really see those embers still continuing to bellow. Those embers are going to be dropping down into areas where there is more brush and some homes. Of course, the fire department sees this as well. As Justin tilts up a little bit, you'll see the west side of the fire, and that flank has basically moved down and basically coming around the other side of this neighborhood. A lot of fuel there. We've watched as that fire has just basically ripped down that hillside at an amazing speed. The helicopter, that's the only real tool they have right now to stop those flames. Folks at home, the armchair firefighters are like, well, why haven't I got firefighters down there on the ground? Stop. There is just no way to stop that right now. So they're using their resources to produce structure protection, make sure that folks in these neighborhoods get out safely, and they are setting up for the potential of what might happen and where these flames will go. That wildland fire, they need a wildland fire response. They're going to need aircraft. Probably the Forest Service is going to join this firefight later on in the morning. But as far as the homes right now, that's where all their resources are going to be. They're going to be protecting that property. That you're showing us right now, that is going to be something that it would be aerial fights. But right now they have one helicopter. This guy's doing an amazing job up there, and it might be a woman. But whoever is piloting that aircraft is doing an amazing job, doing what they can to keep the ground crews advised of where the fire is moving, the direction that fire is going, and of course doing an occasional water drop, trying to get out a hot spot. But right now, though, this is a very active and very tense situation for all those firefighters who are probably working at 110% down there, keeping those homes safe, trying to keep property safe, trying to stay ahead of where those flames are going. And this firefight is going to go on for quite some time. And again, I just can't give enough props to those guys and the gals on the ground right now, because we have not seen one structure go up this morning. I wish I could say yes, Araxia, but the reality is the reason why we're seeing more smoke is because the sun is actually coming up right now, and it's going to actually, it might actually even obscure some of the fire that we've been seeing so brightly. It's just a trick of photography. When it's nighttime and the light is going to blow through any of that smoke. When the sun starts coming up, we're going to start seeing a lot more of that smoke, but it does actually kind of show you the wind direction, so it gives the folks at home an idea idea how the winds are pushing this into that Emerald Bay neighborhood. And as Justin just continues that pan, you can actually see that was up on the hillside. This is, again, if you're just joining us, a north-south type of thing. Even though we're right at the shore, people will say, oh no, the shore is on the west. Well, yes, it is, but in this case, it curves. So this is actually a north-south type of situation. The northern end of the fire up on the hillside, the southern end would actually be the beach down there. And you can see that, you know, the winds are basically pushing this fire towards the shoreline. And as that continues, the fire is going to try to climb up that hill. So that actually is helping some of that brush response. But right there, you can see that that western flank is really starting to make its way into a spot where there's more homes, there's more of a neighborhood. And of course, this is what firefighters are really concerned about right now, is this one spot Justin is showing us, because this is the spot that is most active. The winds are going to be pushing those embers into that neighborhood, and this is where firefighters are going to have to basically concentrate their biggest responses, make sure that the folks are out of that area. And if they're not out, they have to make note that this home might have a person that refused to evacuate. So this is something that firefighters have to deal with a little bit of an extra. But right now, their biggest concern, keeping those embers away from those homes and keeping those homes safe. Amazing. IFB's gone. We lost our IFB. Assignment desk, we lost the IFB. It's back. Oh. No, the wind's not dying down, and that is it's sad to see. That's the only thing you do, and we have no control over that at all. Now these firefighters, that the only thing that they have is the ability to understand where those winds are going to be pushing those flames. They are working to keep keep the areas where the fire will go safe. But when daylight, you know, now we're starting to see a little bit more daylight. Hopefully, some of that aerial assets from the response from other agencies will start arriving, and they'll start being able to put down the FOS check, dropping more water, and keeping that wildland area, or starting to put those spots out. That'll create less embers for that neighborhood. Right now, though, firefighters, they are in those neighborhoods. We've been watching them do structure protection, and as light is kind of showing, now we can actually see some of those homes out here and how close some of those how close some of that fire is getting to those homes. Again, the embers, when they start whipping up and they start ripping down those hillsides, there is really nothing that the firefighters or anybody can do to stop that, except for keep an eye on where it's going, understand the path, and then get resources in place. But there you go. Now we're starting to actually see some of that neighborhood that has been threatened this morning. Those firefighters, they're up there on those front lines. They're keeping those homes safe. And again, mandatory evacuations. And this is one of those complicated things where some of these folks will leave right away, and others they'll just refuse, or they want to stay with their property. And that creates an extra load for those firefighters or the first responders, because now they have to make note that somebody is actually in that structure. It isn't like they're just going to say, oh, somebody's there, it doesn't make any difference. It does make a difference, and this creates more of a stress on the actual firefighting plan. It would be better if folks would get out and they would just have to deal with the property. Right now, though, amazing work from these guys. No homes have been damaged or destroyed, which is great. But this firefight, you can see, really just kind of coming around both sides of this Emerald Bay neighborhood, and hopefully we're going to continue to say no structures were damaged. Well, definitely a great deal of the area is blocked off, and we actually saw one of the areas on Pacific Coast Highway where they are stopping the traffic, and it is good to see that people are heeding the warning or have heads up, and they are not trying to drive along Pacific Coast Highway. Justin doing that shot into that smoke right there. That is basically the heart of this part of the Emerald Bay. And you can actually really see this is a very, very densely populated area with a lot of homes very close together. And having this type of fire, a brush fire in this area, as long as the firefighters keep those homes safe, meaning, just if one of them starts to go, that's going to start some sort of domino effect in this neighborhood. Right now, an amazing job keeping those homes safe. That fire really just kind of working its way around those buildings. That's not just nature happening right there. Believe me, that is because of those firefighters doing what they can down there, keeping those structures safe. We watching them putting water on some of those buildings, keeping the brush that ignites near those homes, basically putting it out as soon as it happens. But as far as the actual mass migration of people leaving this area this morning, thank goodness we've seen cars driving out, we've seen people heeding those warnings, but we haven't seen any kind of traffic jams as it would be. Tony, Araxia? Perfect. What's up? 20 minutes? Copy. I'll let them know. Simon Test letting you know about, what, 20? 20 minutes. 20 minutes on station. 20 minutes on station. 20 minutes. 20 minutes on station, Haley. 20 minutes on station. Go wide real quick. I'm trying to see what you're looking at. Yeah, keep yeah, right there. What's that square right there? Towards the left in the smoke. There's just, yeah, you're pushing into it. Yeah, just want to make sure that that's just brush because it has a shape. Yeah, it's just brush. Never mind, it's good. I know you're busy, but just mine is looking really blue. I just want to make sure you're right. You might be able to do something on the fly in with the smoke. I mean, just to grab a white balance. I don't know. Mine looks really blue. Oops. That's a black balance. There we go. And this is the first fire they've had. That's kind of interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's what I agree. That's what I'm seeing as well. I kind of wonder how many of those homes are actually occupied. You know what I mean? I think there is immediate danger, especially if you live on Emerald Bay Drive. There's a spot where it jumped the ridge line and it's getting closer to the homes on down on the bottom of the screen, almost center. Just keep an eye on that one. Firefighters. Is he the from the Rossi on the rocks? It looks a lot better. Yeah. But that one spot, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Just to go back to it. It's like really taking off. It's on the west side, yeah. What? Oh, cool. Yeah, they should do a drop there because this is going to start getting close. Yeah, and you can see them doing structure protection. There you go. You got they're just hosing down the house. Yep. It and you can see the firefighters doing what they need to do. Let me see if I can figure out what the name of that street is because that's Emerald. All right, hang on. So Emerald Bay Canyon Road. Is there a road right there? I guess there is. Ten minutes, guys. 10 minutes for the helicopter. Yeah, John Wayne closest. that you see is now kind of burned itself out, but it actually jumped a little bit of a ravine, and that started. These firefighters that are at that cul-de-sac out there got down onto that into that area.